Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is our second episode of Law School 101, my law school series that I'll be doing over the next several weeks that I started last week to inform anyone interested in attending law school or just interested in law school in general and wants to know what it's all about. Last week I just kind of gave a broad overview, and if you missed that one, I will put a link in the video right here, and you can check that one out before watching this one. Not that they really conflict. If you watch this one, it's not going to spoil anything for you. This one is just going to be a more in-depth view of law school classes and a general view behind them, and then an in-depth view of the classes that I'll be taking this next year and things like that. So first up, and I know I talked about this a little bit last week, but a general view of law school classes and how most law school classes do them. So up until the late about 1800s, we were similar to what we brought over from England in law school, in that you did kind of apprenticeships where you didn't really go to law school. It was like a trade, like blacksmithing, like you studied under someone that was already a practicing attorney or solicitor, barrister, whatever they were called. And then it became this kind of, because we were Harvard and some of the early schools to have law schools were intent on copying what Oxford and Cambridge did, because they were the elite schools of the day, and they did this very theoretical, just like study of kind of the history of the law and philosophy, and not a practical, here's how you be a lawyer, here's how to practice and think about the law. So Christopher Langdell, a Harvard professor and dean, set out to change this in the late 1800s, and he brought about the case method and the Socratic method that are largely still used today. And this is kind of the good and bad of law school, is that I've heard it said that you could walk into a law school 100 years ago and it would not look that much different from today, which in a sense is a little bit scary, because as I've joked with some people, if you were to say that about like medical school, that'd kind of scare us if we were still training doctors the same way we did 100 years ago. But in the same way, medicine and technology and other things change a lot quicker than the law, and so I understand why that is the way it is. So Langdell brought about the case method, which, as I talked about last week, is in law school you're largely looking at federal and state appellate courts and Supreme Courts, and how law moved, changed, and applies to different sets of facts, and how that brings about the development and changing of the law. And then the Socratic method was, of course, attributed to the namesake of Socrates. He would talk to his followers and crowds by actually asking them questions instead of lecturing. I know in a lot of schools lecturing is still standard, but in law school largely they have done this Socratic method, where students are expected to read the cases and kind of do briefs where you try and figure out what the rule of law is, the issue, facts, so on and so forth. It probably varies law school to law school, but are expected to read beforehand and come to class ready to discuss the cases and the law. And the professor poses a series of questions and can either call on one or a few students for the entire class, or can jump student to student, or can even take volunteers. A lot of teachers kind of do it a lot of different ways, and it really just depends on the school and the teacher. As time goes on, it seems to be that law school is moving away from the rigid, mean professor or trying to intimidate you by asking you questions until you don't have the answers, or trying to make your reasoning, the way you're applying reasoning, look silly and make you understand how the law works. Law school professors are a lot, from that picture at least, seem a lot more kind, and are trying to help you learn and help you understand how it works. And with taking volunteers, they're not bent on drilling one or a few people. Most professors are just out to try and help you pick up how legal reasoning works. So yeah, so my experience with Socratic and case method is pretty much that. There are a couple of professors at UT, and I'm sure across the nation, that still believe in or still practice the rigid Socratic method, where they're almost an antagonist, which, it's realistic in what you could face in court. Of course, an opposing attorney is not going to be nice on your client, or in an appellate court, judges are going to ask you questions and interrupt you when you speak. I don't think professors do it to be mean. necessarily, even though it comes off that way. I think it's just intimidating when you're an early first year student starting out and you've never had someone question you that much, and you don't really know what you're talking about yet. But for the most part, a lot of teachers nowadays either take volunteers or just a lot nicer when people don't exactly know the answer. I mean, granted, there aren't really answers. What they want to see you do is just try your best and try the reasoning. Like, you'll be wrong a lot. That's completely okay. Like, everyone will have some time where they think they've got the answer or think they don't get the answer, and you're absolutely wrong. But I mean, that's okay. I think you just have to learn to laugh at yourself and be okay with being wrong and just trying again and not getting frustrated or overwhelmed, because I think you will pick it up. It's just something that comes with being in law school for a few months. You just learn how to do it. Okay, so now that was kind of a philosophical and zoomed out look at law school classes, and now the more zoomed in, like talking about the kind of classes you'll be taking. So my experience, of course, at the University of Tennessee, and as I've heard it at, I think most law schools around the country, your first year or 1L year of law classes are pretty set in stone as far as most schools go, or at least your first semester. Almost all schools require you to take civil procedure, contracts, torts, criminal law, property, and then like a legal research and writing class in your first year, or kind of combined between your first and second year. But those are some of the big kind of foundational law classes that almost all law it fits into one or multiple of those categories. At UT, we have a couple other required classes that you have to take after your first year, and that's professional responsibility, which is like a legal ethics class, and then constitutional law. To briefly get into like the classes you take your 1L year, civil procedure is, I've heard it's kind of one of the most practical, like doctrinal classes that you'll take in law school, in that it kind of teaches you the ins and outs of court, like filing complaint, how to start lawsuits, kind of the process that a trial takes and things like that. Whereas your other classes, like contracts, I mean, is about what is a contract, what isn't a contract, and it's more a theory-based thing, or that's how we looked at it. Same with torts, which is defamation, slander, private action by citizen, as opposed to criminal law, which is like the state telling someone they've done wrong and that you have to pay a fine, go to prison, whatever it is. And then property, of course, is how land changes, stuff like tenancy stuff, landlord stuff like that. That's property law. Okay, so, and then those are all the 1L doctrinal classes, as they call them. And then the most practical class, I've heard it called, that you take in most people take in their first year, and some may even in their second year, but is a legal research and writing. And this is kind of more a day-to-day thing that a lot of lawyers do, learning to write memos, learning to write briefs, because that's one of your biggest jobs. Learning to write motions, that's actually what you're doing as a lawyer when you're not, I guess, reading cases or doing research for a case. That these are the documents that you'll be filing with a court. Okay, and so those are the kind of the first year classes that, as far as I know, almost all law schools require. And then now I want to get into more of beyond the first year. And like I said, some schools like UT still have a couple classes that you have to take, like constitutional law and professional responsibility, but largely they're all electives after that point. Now, there are some classes that are recommended because they're on the bar, like evidence and secured transactions, business associations. There's things like these that are regularly on the bar, and you're going to be expected to be very familiar with them. And I've heard mixed opinions on these. Like, there's some, like evidence and business associations, that I think are on almost every year of bar, and I've heard that you should definitely take them. Even take evidence if you don't plan on doing litigation and being in court a lot. Some, like secured transactions, that people seem to avoid like the plague. That's what it seems like I hear people doing, and so I may soon become one of those people, I don't know. But I've heard some brilliant professors and professors I respect a lot say that there were some classes, like one guy was mentioning secured transactions in particular, that he did not take in law school and just took on on your bar prep class that most people will take before they take the bar, and he did fine. He passed the bar, he did fine. And so his point was, just because they're recommended or just because they're on the bar, you absolutely don't have to take them, and he and a lot of others recommend taking either classes that interest you or classes that are relevant to the field that you want to go into and you think are going to help you in pursuit of that. To give a personal example, myself, I'm looking to go into kind of the transactional side of business. So that would mean I'm not looking to do court stuff as much. Obviously, I'm open to change. I'm only going into my second year, so I'm still just trying to get a feel for and see what interests me and what all there is to do. Transactional law is a lot more of like the mergers and acquisitions, because I want to do business stuff, contract negotiation, contract stuff. In pursuit of kind of the business transactional way that I'm looking to go, the classes I'm taking next this coming fall semester are business associations, which I've heard, just talks about like the legal on paper, like corporations, partnerships, things of that nature, and really gets into the legal definitions of them. And then fundamental concepts of income tax. I'm sure that one's going to be a real fun class. No, I've actually heard that the professors that teach it at UT are really interested in it, and I think that's actually what makes classes good. It's not necessarily the subject. You can have something that people might think is dull, like contracts or property, but if you have a professor that's real fired up and real knowledgeable about it, I think that can make, and in my experience has made, classes actually more interesting than you think they would be. So I'm actually as excited as one can be for a class with tax in the name, and I'm just excited to come to understand income tax more than I currently do. Other classes I'm taking, contract drafting, and that's one of the more like practical classes. You're in the class, you literally have projects where the teachers have taught you how to write contracts, good contracts, and you negotiate them out with other parties, and I've heard it's just a really good practical class that gives you good hands-on law practice skills. And then I'm taking professional responsibility, which is kind of the legal ethic in practice class and the do's and don'ts of being an attorney. And then of course, being from Texas, I am taking oil and gas because it is on the Texas bar. I don't know where Abby and I plan to move after law school, and so if we did move back to somewhere like Texas where oil and gas is on the bar, I'd want to know about it. But like I said, a bar prep in Texas would probably prepare you for it and you wouldn't even have to take the class. It's something that somewhat interests me, so I want to be knowledgeable in it. And then finally, I'm taking antitrust, which of course is like breaking up big companies, regulating companies and things of that nature. That one I'm interested in, of course, too. I've heard that a lot of it does talk about kind of the telecom companies getting big, or like when AT&T used to be the monopoly but had to do the divestiture because it was too big. And I think it'll talk about the federal regulation of airlines and stuff like that. And so that stuff interests me a lot. And so that's a class that I wanted to take. I think I said them all. Fundamental concepts of income tax, business associations, professional responsibility, antitrust, contract drafting, and oil and gas. So 6 classes. Alright, so whatever law school you end up attending or are interested in, check out their website, and I'm almost positive, I know University of Tennessee's does, and I know a number of others do too, that they will list, 1, the required classes that you have to take for your first year and otherwise, and 2, like just almost all the classes that they teach on any given year, just for interested students. Be sure and check that out and know what courses they offer, and even different law schools specialize in different areas of the law, so you might even be interested in checking that out too. Like I know University of Tennessee, one of their things is business law, and of course that's one of the reasons that I picked it and came here. Thank you all so much for watching. That is all I have on law school classes. If there's anything you feel like I did not touch on in this subject area, please give us a comment, leave a question if you have one. I'll try and get you an answer. If there's anything you'd like to see in future law school episodes, let me know in the comments, of course, as well. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope y'all learned something. I will see y'all next Monday, and please hit the thumbs up and subscribe on YouTube button to Chrabby Vlogs. Thank y'all. Bye-bye.